This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Well, good day. I'm Elena Rusk. A body found more than 30 years ago in Arizona, recently identified as that of a Bakersfield woman. Sheriff's deputies asking for information as to what happened to 28-year-old Marina Ramos and her daughters, Elizabeth Ramos and Jasmine Ramos, who were both under the age of 2 when their mother's body was found. Investigators say Ramos and her daughters were last seen August of 1989 with a man only identified as Fernando. They were leaving Bakersfield in a black SUV for Ontario in Southern California. 4 months later, Ramos's body was found unclothed with multiple apparent stab wounds off a road in Mojave County, Arizona. Authorities were unable to identify her, but they did obtain a DNA profile. And then in February of last year, that DNA confirmed Ramos's identity. Anyone with information on this cold case asked to call Mojave County Sheriff's Office at area code 928-753-0753. And sheriff's deputies here at home say a woman stabbed a man in Taft during a domestic dispute yesterday. This was on Monday evening. Deputies called to a home on Hawthorne Street about 8:30 that evening and arrived to find the man dead at the scene. The 33-year-old woman cooperating with investigators, her name and that of the victim not yet released. All right, let's now touch on some developing news. Bakersfield's famous Big Shoe repair shop will now need some repairs of its own after a car crashed into what would be the Big Toe. It happened about 11 o'clock this morning when Bakersfield police say 2 cars collided, sending one careening through the front door of the 75-year-old landmark. No serious injuries reported in the drivers. The only person inside Bakersfield's little slice of Disneyland there was cobbler Felipe Torres, who was not hurt either, but we're hearing he is shaken up. This is at least the second time the Big Shoe, which sits at the corner of Chester and 10th, has required repairs after being hit by a car. The iconic building, which was built all the way back in 1947, has a semi-glorious history in commercial advertising. In 1989, the building was used in national campaigns promoting DuPont carpeting. It has turned up in U.S. News and World Report, Time, Newsweek, Fortune, People, Smithsonian Magazine, Architectural Digest, The Wall Street Journal, and USA Today, among others. It's been on broadcast networks and in books about unusual buildings. No word on when the repair shop will be repaired itself. An investigation continues today in the suspected DUI crash that killed a woman on Highway 65. It happened just before 4 a.m. yesterday as the California Highway Patrol says 52-year-old William Peterson was driving north on Highway 65 just north of Famoso Road when he crossed over the double yellow line and hit another vehicle. The woman who was killed has not been identified. Peterson, believed to be under the influence of alcohol, and was taken into custody on suspicion of manslaughter and other charges. He is due in court tomorrow. And continuing your 17 Court Watch, convicted murderer Jamie Osuna, charged with torturing and killing his cellmate at Corcoran State Prison, was back in court this morning to learn when he'll stand trial again. This morning, attorneys agreed to a tentative preliminary hearing date of July 12th. Osuna's attorney at first sought to postpone, but the judge noted the case is nearly 3 years old and wanted to move forward. Osuna is facing a new trial for the brutal murder of 44-year-old Luis Romero in their Corcoran prison cell in March 2019. Officials say Romero was decapitated and other body parts removed. At the time of Romero's death, Osuna serving a term of life without parole for the torture and murder of Yvette Pena in Bakersfield. Now, we took a deep dive into Osuna's life and the lives of his victims in our award-winning podcast, The Man with a Thousand Faces. You can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, and other sites. And the man charged with sexually assaulting a woman who was exercising in Northeast Bakersfield last week faced a judge yesterday. According to police, the woman was in the area of Panorama Drive near Morning Drive when she was attacked from behind and assaulted. A witness followed the suspect and called police. A short time later, officers arrested 23-year-old Anton Hill of Bakersfield. Hill arrested and booked into Kern County Jail on suspicion of false imprisonment with violence and attempted rape, but his lawyer claims it may have been a misunderstanding.
I don't have very much to say today other than Mr. Hill does suffer, has been suffering since he's 12 years old from severe epileptic seizures. He had a stroke when he was 12 years old. His brain stopped developing. I think this was some type of an incident that he was suffering from, some kind of mental stroke or some type of mental epileptic seizure that resulted in some conduct that really scared somebody. He has his mother here.
Hill will now be evaluated by a court-appointed doctor to determine his mental status and see if he can stand trial in his own defense. And in court tomorrow, the couple charged with the deaths of their adopted sons Orrin and Orson West will once again face a judge. Prosecutors alleging 4-year-old Orrin and 3-year-old Orson West were killed about 3 months before their adoptive parents reported them missing on December 21st, 2020. The boys' bodies have never been found. Thursday's hearing will be a status conference to possibly set a trial schedule. Prosecutor Eric Smith is currently in a trial that could last until late February. Attorneys representing the Wests said they are awaiting more evidence and aren't ready to move forward with the case.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OB/GYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
Well, in 17 business news, Airbnb has reported fourth quarter profit and revenue that exceeded Wall Street expectations. The company is still riding the recovery in travel from the pandemic era lows of a couple years ago. Airbnb announcing they earned $319 million, that's 48 cents per share, in the fourth quarter. Thanks to more bookings and strong nightly rates, revenue rose 24%, making the company $1.9 billion. The San Francisco-based home-sharing company saying they are seeing strength in all regions of the world. And check this out, Amazon's self-driving vehicle company says it has successfully carried passengers on California's public roads. Zoox said the company conducted the first run of its 4-person robo-taxi Saturday with employees on board. The company says the vehicle ran a mile-long route between 2 buildings at their headquarters in Foster City. The carriage-style interior of the vehicle measures just under 12 feet long, about a foot shorter than the standard Mini Cooper. It can travel up to 35 miles per hour, and with the test now completed, Zoox says it is planning to launch a shuttle service exclusively for its employees. Well, in your 17 Health Watch, the American Academy of Pediatrics made headlines and gained some criticism last month when they updated their guidelines for treating children with obesity. In light of it being American Heart Month, we spoke with a pediatrician this morning on 17 News at Sunrise about these new recommendations to tackling obesity, one of the biggest precursors to heart disease. And here in Kern, it's something we see a lot. In 2019, the health department reported 44.5% of 5th graders in Kern were overweight or considered obese. Dr. Namisha Amin says there are many potential repercussions to obesity in children.
Obesity can lead to very common conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. And those conditions, after several decades, can give rise to even more serious complications such as kidney failure, heart attacks, and stroke. And our concern with obesity in children is that those events are going to happen much earlier in their adult life if they are becoming obese earlier in their pediatric life.
Now, the new AAP guidelines, with the first update in 15 years, recommend that doctors first start by offering education on living a healthy lifestyle, including information on nutrition and physical activity. Then for kids 12 years and older with obesity, doctors are encouraging to offer medication in addition to lifestyle therapy, and the recommendations say teens 13 and older with severe obesity should be evaluated for metabolic and even bariatric surgery. But Dr. Amin says a healthy lifestyle should be a family-wide goal.
It really has to start with an understanding on the parents' part that this is a team sport. We simply cannot expect kids to focus and prioritize diet and exercise if they're not seeing what their parents do. And so every single day there has to be a priority to let's try to eat well, let's try to move our bodies, let's try to serve as role models for our kids, because as we know all too well, kids do what they see.
The long-anticipated divorce between the Raiders and Bakersfield's Derek Carr now official. Yesterday, the Raiders released the Bakersfield native and BCHS grad just a day before his $40 million contract became guaranteed. The move was expected after Carr was benched with 2 games remaining this season. Carr did meet with the Saints in an effort to work out a trade. Raiders wanted a 3rd-round pick for compensation but were unable to work out a deal. Carr started 142 games for Las Vegas over the past 9 seasons. In the silver and black, he threw for over 3,500 yards and 24 touchdowns. He now becomes a free agent.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.